Have you ever just, stopped to think about what really shapes us? From the very beginning right to the very end. What are those fundamental forces making us who we are and who we become? Today, we're doing a deep dive into the really fascinating world of human development. And this isn't just about babies or kids. It's about the systematic, orderly changes, the ones that happen to us from conception all the way through life until death. Our mission here is to unpack the core ideas, the big questions, and sort of the different ways experts look at this incredible journey. We've got a stack of sources, articles, research notes, basically giving you a shortcut to the key insights into how we all grow and change. So by the end of this, you'll get the key domains, understand why studying this is actually super useful in everyday life. We'll explore the major controversies, those big debates that have shaped the field. And then we'll get into the different theoretical perspectives, the frameworks for understanding behavior and growth. Okay, so let's kick things off. When we talk about human development, it sounds huge. What exactly are we covering?
Yeah, you're right. It does sound broad, but it's also quite specific. Human development refers to those systematic, orderly changes in an individual, occurring between conception and death. It's really the study of how we change over our entire lives. And crucially, these aren't just random shifts, they follow predictable patterns.
Patterns, okay.
Yeah.
So how do we make sense of such a huge topic then?
Well, we usually break it down into 3 key areas or domains. They're all interconnected, of course. First up is physical development. This is basically biological growth and maturation.
Okay.
Think changes in body size, brain development, our senses, muscles, bones. It also includes how we use our body's motor skills, even sexual development later on.
So not just getting bigger, but how our brain wires up, how we get coordinated, like a baby learning to reach, or how we adapt physically as we get older.
Exactly that, the whole biological spectrum. Then number 2 is cognitive development.
Right, the thinking part.
Yes, changes in intellectual abilities. How we reason, think, pick up language. How we gain and store knowledge about our physical and social worlds. And a huge part of this is learning how experiences create relatively permanent changes in our feelings, thoughts, behaviors.
Learning seems key. So this covers everything from a toddler's first words to, an adult learning a complex new job skill.
Yeah.
Or memory changes in later life.
Precisely. It's the whole journey of the mind. And third, we have psychosocial development.
Psychosocial, the feelings in people.
Spot on. This domain focuses on changes in feelings, emotions, and really importantly, how we relate to others. Relationships with family, friends, peers, how our social world evolves.
Okay.
And like I said, these 3 domains, physical, cognitive, psychosocial, they don't exist separately. They're constantly interacting and influencing each other.
That makes a lot of sense that they're all connected. So, all right, we have the definition. But why should someone listening really truly care about this stuff? What's the practical power here?
That's a really important question, because understanding human development gives us some incredibly practical insights, things you can actually use. For starters, it gives you appropriate expectations. For kids, for teenagers.
How so?
Well, knowing, for instance, when infants usually start talking, around 11 to 14 months maybe, or when school kids tend to begin reasoning more abstractly, it helps you meet them where they actually are.
Okay, so it helps us respond better, maybe avoid expecting too much too soon. Makes sense for parents or teachers. But are there other, maybe less obvious benefits, like for understanding ourselves or society?
Oh, definitely. It helps you recognize when things are significantly off track developmentally, when maybe some professional help might be needed. You can sort of distinguish between just a normal variation and something more serious.
Right.
For researchers and people working in the field, it helps them apply what they know to actively support positive development. And, like you hinted, for individuals, understanding these developmental arcs can be really vital for coping with life changes, especially, say, the challenges of getting older.
Ah, okay. So knowing what physical or mental shifts are typical in old age can help someone prepare, maybe adjust their lifestyle proactively.
Exactly. It's about understanding the transitions and adapting effectively. It empowers you throughout the whole lifespan.
It's actually quite powerful when you put it like that. But, okay, even with all this knowledge, it sounds like there are still some fundamental disagreements, big questions where experts don't see eye to eye.
Oh, absolutely. And what's fascinating is these aren't just, dry academic debates locked away in universities. They genuinely shape how we think about everything. Parenting, education, social policy.
Well, what's one of the really big ones?
Probably the most famous is the nature-nurture controversy.
Ah, yes, heard of that one.
It asks, what's more important in determining who we become? Is it our genes, our biology, the stuff we inherit in nature? Or is it our environment, our upbringing, home, school, culture, all those external forces nurture?
The blueprint versus the building materials, kind of. What do the different camps argue?
Pretty much. Some argue that, well, psychological development really follows biological maturation. Genes first, environment second. They see genetic factors as paramount. Others say, look, genes give you a starting point, a blueprint maybe, but the environment provides all the actual materials and does the real construction work.
It's a fundamental difference in perspective, isn't it?
It really is. Then there's the activity-passivity controversy.
Okay, what's that about?
This one debates whether children are active agents in their own development. Do they actively shape their experiences, seek things out, drive their own growth? Or are they more like passive recipients, just sort of soaking up environmental influences, being shaped by the world rather than shaping it?
Huh. So is a child like a little explorer or more like a sponge? That's a really different way of looking at kids.
It leads to very different approaches, and that connects to another one, the continuity-discontinuity controversy.
Continuity, discontinuity. Does that mean gradual change versus stages?
Exactly. Is development a smooth, gradual, continuous process, like adding bricks to a wall, just getting quantitatively bigger or better?
Like walking up a ramp.
Yeah, like a ramp. Or is it discontinuous? Does it happen in abrupt shifts, sudden changes that lift the person to a whole new, qualitatively different level of functioning?
Or like climbing stairs, where each step is a distinct stage.
Precisely. A ramp versus a staircase. That's a great way to put it. And you can see how that impacts things like education. Do we expect gradual improvement or sudden leaps?
Definitely. Okay, one more.
Sure. The universality-particularity controversy.
Universal versus particular.
Yeah. Are the most important parts of development universal? Meaning, are they normative outcomes that pretty much everyone shows, regardless of their culture or background? Or are they particularistic? Meaning, do developmental paths vary a lot from person to person, especially across different cultures?
So are we all fundamentally on the same developmental roadmap, maybe just at different speeds?
That's the universal view. Stage theorists often lean this way. They might point to things like language emerging around the same age globally, or puberty hitting during adolescence.
Okay.
But the particularistic view says, hold on, development in one culture can look vastly different from another. Context matters hugely. Development might be far less universal than we think.
Wow, okay. These controversies really show there isn't just one simple answer to how we develop. So to grapple with this complexity, experts use different theoretical perspectives, right? Like different lenses.
Exactly. Think of them as frameworks. They help organize all this data and theory, each highlighting different aspects of the developmental process. They give us ways to make sense of the how and why.
So what are some of the main ones?
Well, first, there's the biological perspective. This one, as the name suggests, really emphasizes the link between our biological systems, brain, genes, hormones, and our behavior and thoughts. Charles Darwin was a huge influence here back in the mid-1800s, stressing those biogenetic factors.
Right. Evolution, genetics.
Yes. And later developmentalists in this camp really believed development was mostly driven by genetic inheritance, unfolding over time. They called it maturation. The environment played a smaller role in their view.
So if you take this perspective, you might look for genetic or neurological explanations for behavior first.
That would be the focus, yes. The internal biological mechanisms. Now, contrasting that, you have the behavioral learning perspective.
Okay, so this one emphasizes learning, environment.
Exactly. It puts the emphasis squarely on environmental factors. Development is seen as largely shaped by our physical and social surroundings. Genetics might provide the blueprint, sure, but the environment provides the actual materials and shapes the final structure.
And didn't John B. Watson push this idea, focusing on observable behavior?
He was key. He argued psychology should focus on what we can see overt behaviors and how learning from environmental stimuli shapes us.
So less about what's inside, more about what experiences are teaching us and how we respond.
Precisely. Then we shift again with the cognitive perspective.
Piaget comes to mind here.
He's the central figure, yes. This perspective highlights the individual's active role in their own development, especially their intellectual growth thinking, reasoning. It sees humans as actively selecting, processing, and constructing their knowledge about the world, not just passively receiving it.
So the child, as a little scientist, actively figuring things out.
That's a great analogy for Piaget's view. Development is an active construction process, unfolding in universal stages.
Okay, what's next?
The psychodynamic perspective. This takes us into the inner world, often the unconscious.
Freud territory.
Freud's psychoanalytic theory is the historical foundation, yes. This perspective stresses that development results from dynamic inner forces, things like sexual and aggressive drives often operating below our awareness. It suggests we're born with these innate forces that profoundly shape us, and that we're often in conflict between these inner urges and what society expects.
So this lens might see current struggles as rooted in early, possibly unconscious conflicts.
It definitely looks deep into the past and explores those hidden motivations. And finally, there's the humanistic existential perspective.
This sounds different again. More positive, maybe.
It generally has a more optimistic view, yes. It emphasizes our active role in our social and personality development, but focuses on conscious choices and potential for growth.
So we're not just driven by biology or environment or unconscious conflict.
According to this view, no. We make conscious choices that shape our development. We strive to fulfill our potential. Thinkers like Abraham Maslow talked about this universal drive for growth, creativity, learning.
Maslow's hierarchy, right. Self-actualization at the top.
Exactly. And Carl Rogers, another key figure, believed people naturally grow in positive directions if they have supportive environments. He really emphasized our capacity for self-improvement, that we're the best judges of our own lives.
So this perspective puts conscious choice, meaning, and personal growth right at the center.
Yes, it highlights our capacity to make choices and change our path throughout development.
Okay, that covers the big theoretical lenses. But you mentioned earlier there are also some basic principles about how development physically unfolds, more concrete patterns.
That's right. These principles describe the actual physical trajectory, especially early on. One is the cephalocaudal principle.
Cephalocaudal, head to tail.
Exactly. Development proceeds from the head downwards towards the tail or toes. It starts first and strongest in the head region. You see it really clearly in infants. Their heads are proportionally huge at birth, and they gain control over their head and neck muscles before their torso or legs.
Right. Head control first, then sitting up, then walking. Makes sense.
Then there's the proximodistal principle.
Proximodistal, near to far.
You got it. Development proceeds from the center of the body outwards towards the extremities. Think about gaining control over the arms before the hands and the hands before the fingers. It's often quite noticeable during adolescence, too, as the limbs grow.
Okay, center outwards. And the last one
Is the differentiation principle. This just highlights that development isn't uniform. Different body parts and systems become increasingly specialized in their function. They develop at different rates. And crucially, this principle reminds us that individual differences in the rate of development are normal. People hit milestones at slightly different times, and that's okay.
That's a really important point about individual variation. Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground. We've defined human development across those key domains: physical, cognitive, psychosocial. We've explored why understanding it is so practically useful. We dove into those big ongoing debates like nature-nurture and continuity-discontinuity, examined the major theoretical lenses: biological, behavioral, cognitive, psychodynamic, humanistic, and even touched on those fundamental principles of physical growth like cephalocaudal and proximodistal. You've really gotten a comprehensive overview of how and why we change throughout our entire lives. So here's something to think about. Knowing that development is this continuous, complex journey, full of both predictable patterns and unique individual twists and turns, how might recognizing these developmental forces in yourself, or maybe in others, change how you approach new challenges, navigate big life transitions, or even support personal growth across the whole lifespan?